Good evening, afternoon, or morning, depending on where you are watching this from. Today, I wanted to talk about a game that I've heard about for so long, but finally got the chance to play. That game, of course, is Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 2 is one of those games that I've heard about since it released. People who love action RPGs, especially dialogue heavy RPGs, always bring up Mass Effect 2. This was just a seminal game for the genre. It's a game, though, that I missed. So it came out in 2010, and I just never got around to playing it. A couple years ago, though, it was on a Steam sale for a couple bucks. The Legendary Edition was, so I bought it, and I finally got around to playing it a few weeks ago. And I've got to say that this game is incredible. I loved my time with this game, and I cannot wait to play Mass Effect 3. But it really got me asking some questions like, what makes Mass Effect 2 so great? And I think I figured it out. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, before we get into the nuts and bolts of this video, I want to go ahead and give a full spoiler warning for both Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2. I'm going to go into the story of Mass Effect 2, and I will be spoiling the ending. And there will be things from Mass Effect 1 that I am spoiling. So I just wanted to give you all a heads up. Also, I have not yet played Mass Effect 3. I don't know what happened yet. So if you guys could keep the spoilers for that game off my radar, that would be very much appreciated. But with that out of the way, proceed as you see fit, and we're going to get into the video. I was skeptical to try out the Mass Effect series just for the fact that I normally don't enjoy dialogue-heavy RPGs. Most of the time, I just want to focus on the gameplay, and like if I get a good story on top of that, great. But if the gameplay is not dominating the game, I normally will get pretty bored. However, that was not the case at all in Mass Effect 2. This game was so different, and I couldn't really put my finger on what it was. I think what it comes down to is the fact that the world building and the characters are so incredibly well crafted. And that made me invested in what was going on with them and in turn, what was going on with the world around them. So I think those two things, the world building and the characters, are what made Mass Effect click for me, even though I was hesitant going in. As far as the world building goes, I've played games where your choices affect the outcome in that specific game. I think of, a lot of titles work this way. You make a decision at the beginning and it ends up affecting the ending you get or whatever. What I have not played, though, is a game where your choices carry over into the future installments. I think this is genius, and I wish more games would do it now. The reason for this is because it gives your choices weight. If you make a choice in Mass Effect 1, that choice could carry over to Mass Effect 2 and 3, etc. So you need to make sure that what you're doing is actually what you want to do. So it really gave me pause to consider my actions. There's this mission where you go and you have to stop a missile hitting a planet. Now, the missile's still going to hit the planet. You have two options. You have to choose where the missile's going to hit. On the one hand, you can choose to let the missile hit the city and it will kill a lot of people, but the planet will still be livable and everyone else will get to stay on the planet. The other option is to let the missile hit the industrial complex of the city, and this will, of the planet, and this will render the entire planet inhabitable, but it will save all the lives. I sat there and thought about this decision, and for me, it was an easy one. I chose to just blow up the industrial site because, yeah, it sucks that these people may not have a home anymore, but at least they all still have their lives. Now, again, I've not played Mass Effect 3, so I have no idea if this is going to come into play or not, but these are the kind of decisions that I had to weigh while playing Mass Effect 2 in order to make sure that I wasn't messing up my Mass Effect 3 run. Or maybe not messing up, but just making choices that I didn't agree with. The fact that your choices carry over, as I said, forced me to really take a look at what I was doing. Another impressive part about ME2's world building is the fact that the environmental storytelling is very well done. You can learn a ton from just reading little data pads around the world, or, you know, going to the shadow broker's office and reading about your teammates, which I definitely did not do. I definitely did not learn that Miranda was on dating sites trying to find someone to be with, or that Jack's mother thinks she's dead because she was abducted when she was a baby and then allowed to be experimented on after that. I definitely didn't go through their files because that would be weird and learn all those things. But the point is, Mass Effect 2 has a great story if you just play through the game and ignore all these side data pads, stuff like that. But if you take the time to actually read these things and go through the extra dialogue with the characters, you will learn so much more, and it will help you flesh out the world even more. The biggest compliment I can give to Mass Effect 2's world is that it feels alive. The game feels dynamic because your choices affect it, and you never know what choice might actually affect the next game, which again, I think is incredible design. Now, moving on to the character / story, gameplay is probably not why you're going to come to this game 15 years after launch. The gameplay is fine. I don't think it's bad, but it's certainly not revolutionary or anything. The reason you will come to this game 15 years after its launch is for the story. The story is S tier in every conceivable way. There are massive events occurring that have huge galactic consequences. So when you start the game, the Normandy is attacked, Commander Shepard is killed, he has to be brought back to life by Cerberus. Cerberus is a human-first organization who have brought Commander Shepard back because there is a group of people stealing humans off colonies, and they need to figure out what's going on and stop them. Cerberus, like I said, brings Shepard back and tells him, hey, you need to build a team, and we're going to figure out how to get through the Omega-4 relay and, you know, track down what's going on here. Now, these huge galactic events, they seem fantastical. All of these people are going missing. Hundreds of thousands of people are being kidnapped. The numbers and sheer size of the galaxy is a little too big to wrap your head around on its own. But that's where the characters, specifically the members of your team, come into play and ground the story. The story, again, is absolutely S tier, but one of the reasons the story is S tier is because of these side characters. That is where this game truly shines. Most of the time in an RPG that's so dialogue heavy, there's a bunch of characters I really don't care for. This may not necessarily be the game's fault. I'm learning that I'm playing games a little too quickly and just trying to rush through to the next action set piece. So I've slowed down, especially for this game, and I got a lot more enjoyment out of it. I enjoyed every character that Shepard had on the team. Sure, there's characters I like more than the other characters, but there was no character who I just was completely indifferent about or hated. So I think that is a big triumph for a game that has this many side characters. Because I cared about these characters, I actually wanted to help them with their missions. So what will happen is you go recruit a character. After you recruit that character, each of them will have a loyalty mission. Now, this is essentially something that they need Shepard's help with, and if you do it, the person becomes loyal to you, which will help you down the line. Now, aside from the selfish reason of just helping them because I wanted them to be loyal, which I knew would help me in the future, I actually cared about what was going on with most of them. And so I wanted to help them with their loyalty missions. Now, why are these characters different than other games that I've played? I think it's because they are so fleshed out that I can sympathize with them in some way. So for example, Miranda, she is a genetically engineered human who is dealing with the weight of having all these modifications and having to figure out how to live up to the greatness that she was essentially created to achieve. Thane is a workaholic. Now, yes, his work is being an assassin, which, to be fair, not a great job, but he is a workaholic and has been neglecting his family, and now he's having to deal with the repercussions of not being around for his son and watching his son go down the same path that he did. Grunt is a Krogan who is genetically engineered in a laboratory, and that is directly at odds to what Krogan are. He's looked down upon by lots of other Krogan because he is tank bred. He's having to deal with the pressure of figuring out where exactly he fits in. Jack is a genetically enhanced human. She was kidnapped by Cerberus at birth, and put into a facility where she was inflicted with tons of different experiments to try to make her as biotically strong as possible. Jack doesn't trust anyone because why would she? The people she's been around her whole life have absolutely betrayed her at every turn, or she's betrayed them before they could get the chance. This leads her to feeling like an outsider for most of the game. I mean, she even hangs out in the cargo bay or whatever, the bottom of the ship by herself. Samara is a Justicar. She's an Asari who's essentially a warrior monk. That's how she's described in the game. She has to live by this very strict code of justice and is trying to figure out what the truth is, like how to live by such a strict code. Then you have a character like Mordin. Mordin is a scientist who helped ensure that the genophage, which is it's a disease or genetic modification to the Krogan that makes them, some of them sterile. So he is having to deal with perhaps that he made a mistake in the past, and now he's having to make up for those past mistakes. All of these character flaws with these characters make them feel like real people. Sure, I'm not a genetically modified human, an assassin, or a warrior monk, but I can sympathize with what these people are going through in the game. I made sure to talk to them and, exhaust all of their dialogue to make sure I didn't miss anything at all and try to make sure that I made the right choices to not ruin their relationships. Now, also, Mass Effect 2 has some pretty good romance, I'm not going to lie to you, which is important for me because in other games that have parties like this, I am almost always focused on the romance, trying to rizz up, my fellow shipmates. Here, romance is very good, but it wasn't my main focus. Of course, I was trying to chat up Miranda any chance I got, but I was also focused on making sure that everyone got back through the Omega 4 relay alive. Your choices throughout the game definitely carry some weight, but nothing carries as much weight to me as the final mission. So throughout the game, you discover that the collectors are harvesting these humans and they have gone through the Omega 4 relay. The Omega 4 relay is how you get to the collector's base, but no one has ever returned through it. So this mission is commonly referred to as the suicide mission throughout the game. It was super important to me to make sure that everyone that I could save and get off the collector base alive, that I was able to do so. Now there's certain things you need to do before that, which is some upgrades to the ship to make sure your whole team actually makes it to the ground on the collector base. Once you get there, though, you have more choices to make. You have to decide who to send through a vent. You also need to pick a second fire team leader. And all of these choices, I weighed them so heavily because I was sitting here thinking, okay, who is the best mechanical expert? Well, I think it's Tali, so I should send her through the vents. Or, okay, I need somebody for the second fire team. They need to be a good leader. Okay, I think Miranda fits that bill. I'll send her. Okay, I've got to get the rest of the Normandy crew back to the Normandy. I need someone to escort them. Who should I pick? I think Mordin would be pretty good at that, so I'm going to send him. And all of these choices just kind of continue to weigh on you. And I was actually proud at the end of the game, which sounds so corny, but I was actually excited that I made it through and everybody survived. The whole Normandy crew survived. All of my crewmates, the main crewmates survived. And it was a great feeling because in a game dealing with huge galactic consequences, the characters are what ground this game and make it feel real. Just a quick side note here, the voice acting is incredible. I could listen to these people talk all day long. The story is interesting on its own, but the added layer of going through the events with the crew of the Normandy is what makes this game special. Both the world and the characters / story of Mass Effect 2 are just a absolute masterstroke by BioWare. I am kind of upset that I waited this long to play such an incredible game. Somehow, some way, this game lived up to the hype, which is pretty hard to do considering I've been hearing about this game for 15 years and I finally got the chance to play it. BioWare meticulously crafted both the characters and the world that the characters inhabit, and I loved absolutely every second of Mass Effect 2. I've already played through it twice, and while I would love to play through it again, I want to get into Mass Effect 3, which I will be doing as soon as I get done recording this video. Mass Effect 2 may have unlocked dialogue-heavy RPGs for me, and I'm really excited about that and can't wait to try some other ones in the future. Thank you all for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I love Mass Effect 2. It's quickly risen up the ranks for me in my all-time game list, and I can't wait to try out some other RPGs that have heavy dialogue. If you did enjoy the video, I would of course appreciate it if you would leave the video a like and subscribe to my channel. We are a small outfit right now, but we have lots of room for some aggressive expansion. And so if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and you won't miss any future uploads. However, if you don't care about any of that, I still appreciate the fact that you have watched this video until the end. I hope you all have a beautiful time, and I will see you all in the next one.